What's up, everybody? Fucking head steaming again. But anyway, I'm gonna read some snippets from this book that was recommended to me by Mark Passio by a man named Jeremy Locke, and it's called "The End of All Evil." I printed it off a free PDF file because when I initially looked the book up about 4 years ago to buy it, it was $1,300. Now, keep in mind, this is a 97-page book, very short, quick, and to the point, and it's not by fucking Leonardo da Vinci or something. I couldn't believe it costed that much money. I've seen it more recently for $300, but I can only find it in Spanish. So my best bet was to just print it for free, and I'm gonna share some shit with you because this is the motherfucking Liberty Bell ringing right here. This is in chapter 4 in regards to the defense of freedom. Culture teaches that only police have the right to defend. It teaches that only authority has the right to decide if you are worthy of defense and what level of defense it will provide, while it teaches that it is never acceptable for you to defend yourself. Culture teaches that when the law implements kidnapping and murder to enforce its authority, it is always acceptable. In order to remove all thought of people fighting their masters, culture teaches that revolt is never acceptable. Rebellion without violence is almost always impossible. Culture ensures that authority holds a monopoly on violence, and it has no compunction about kidnapping, imprisonment, and murder. The only way to escape authority is to destroy all tyranny. This is the reason massive wars have been necessary to destroy entrenched tyrants such as Adolf Hitler. Culture controls speech to stop authority from being questioned. It creates ideas of prosperity to hide its own tyranny. The only remaining element is to make sure that if someone does discover their own worth, that they cannot extricate authority from their lives. This is done by making the defense of freedom immoral. The price of freedom is blood. The price of freedom is blood. The reason for this is simple. Evil does not care if you live or die. It will kill you before it yields control over your life to you. Hundreds of millions have died in history's wars, proving this principle. Every instance of a thug maiming, raping, or killing an innocent person proves this principle. While the vast majority of people are not evil, there are powerful tyrants who will never yield. There are men who will scorch the earth in order to gain or maintain authority. The only way to end tyranny is to destroy every tyrant. The more that tyrants are allowed to work the devices of culture upon people, the harder tyranny is to extricate, and the more lives it will cost to do so. This is the reason that culture teaches that the only proper way for you to defend yourself against law is to obey the law. This teaching preserves tyranny. 100 million people have died at the hands of communists because so few were willing to ignore the law and instead do what was right. Europe was nearly obliterated because so many people valued the law more than liberty. They failed to stop Adolf Hitler while he was still weak. Removing the true nature of violence from news and relegating its understanding to the artificial violence of entertainment teaches people that there is safety in slavery. News reports enable authority when the true cost of tyranny is removed from view. Culture hides the plainest images of blood from people in order to keep them passive. In reality, evil will stop at nothing to control you, including destroying everything you have and everything you love. Violence is used in the preservation of tyranny every day. Violence and murder are only weapons of immorality. When used to destroy freedom, Violence and murder are only weapons of immorality when used to destroy freedom. The defense of freedom is never immoral. Any man who will wield the weapons of violence against innocent people in order to gain authority must be destroyed. We got a long way to go before we can change all this shit. But yeah, it's an outstanding book. Let's see if I can do one more little thing. Bear with me. Enforcement. There are times when authority must revert to violence in order to maintain obedience. There will always be a small minority who refuse to obey the tenets of cultural law. Because of this, authorities employ a constant stream of violence known as... I lost my spot. A constant stream of violence known as law enforcement or police. These are not police in the defense of liberty, but police in the defense of authority. Culture always teaches that liberty and authority are one and the same, but the design of police is to wield the weapons of violence in the preservation of authority, not to defend liberty. Authority must also employ violence when cultures break down. Throughout history, people have slowly and steadily learned more and more about their own worth and hence demanded more and more freedom. Different cultures have fallen as people realize that culture is a lie. When cultures begin to break down, it is because people are learning about their values. Such cultures and the authorities they protect are doomed. Never once in history has a culture in decline been redeemed. When authorities see that their culture is being dismantled, the obedience is no longer theirs to enjoy. They return to violence. These returns to violence are historically extremely brutal. The violent enforcement of law is a sign of coming of liberty. Now, based on that, I'll say that I think you might be able to see some coming of liberty on its way to Ottawa, Canada. Because, first they stole the $11 million. Then they started stealing the gasoline. The other day, they just trampled a bunch of motherfuckers with, goddamn, I ain't never seen horses so big. Some of the people had to die. It was brutal. Yeah, she's stealing the gas. The people are freezing out there. I mean, a family just starved or froze to death trying to get to America. Smuggled themselves across the border via foot and died and froze to death. The whole family. I think it was a mom, dad, and a little boy and a little girl, if I'm not mistaken. Don't hold me to that. But, family died. But anyway, just yesterday, I seen